Hello everybody and welcome to the bonus podcast for episode 468 of Coronation Street. Welcome. I am Michael.
I'm Gemma.
And we are doing a listener question segment today, which we like to do every now and then because people seem to want to know what we think about Coronation Street, or when we ask them to
They come up with some very good questions.
When we ask them to ask us what we think about things, they come up with some very good questions. You're right, and so we're gonna be taking another two of them today and seeing what we think and tackling indeed. Yeah. So let's just get cracking with the tackling then. So John is the first question giver, and he would like to know. He's looking ahead. He's looking for long-term plans on Coronation Street.
I think John's a secret Coronation Street producer.
Do you reckon he's going to steal our ideas?
Yeah.
Just some bit of forward planning here.
This is consultation that we're doing for free. This would cost tens of thousands of pounds.
John would like to know, thinking of Corrie's 80th birthday in 2040, which current characters will still be major players and which, if any, of the young characters will still remain? Well, this feels like it's a bit of an impossible question, but we'll do our best. And I don't know whether we're going to be able to. I don't know whether it's completely pointless coming up with any stories or anything. But I guess we just want to look at who's going to be there and who's not, and who's got the potential to flourish into somebody with major player potential.
I didn't ask you about your ideas for what the stories would be.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to particularly give that. I mean, it's a hard one really because who knows what the future may bring.
We're not being held to account.
Oh, thank goodness.
Here.
Okay.
No one's going to check up on us.
I've done a little bit of background prep for this just to have a look because I wanted to know if we compared the 40th anniversary to the 60th anniversary, so we got the same time frame, roughly like what proportion of the cast have we still got. So looking back to the 40th, when we had the whole Save the Cobbles thing in 2000, back then we had Gail, Sarah Louise, Steve, Tyrone, Toya, Ken, Audrey, Roy, Rita, Dev, David, Leanne, Sally, Kevin, Maria, Eileen, Peter, and I think Kirk had made one appearance in that year as well. And Peter, in fact, he came back on the 40th, didn't he?
Yeah.
So that was about a third of the cast back then are still in it now.
Some of these people have come and gone, like Sarah Louise and Toya. They've gone away and come back. But I think most of these people have just been sticking around, getting their paychecks for 20 years. That's a nice nest egg.
Well, some of them, I mean, I wonder if we were to look at these names before, we will get on to John's question, if we were to have been asked back then, not that you even watched it back then, but maybe when you first started watching it, would we have, pegged these characters to have stayed the course if we were to have been asked, It's
really difficult to tell because to me, all of those seem like really core characters, but I don't know where they were before then. So definitely Gail, Audrey, Rita, obviously, Steve, they were and Sally, they were definitely entrenched in Coronation Street.
But I suppose with some of these, you might think, oh, they're going to be getting on a bit in the 60th. Will they still be in it? I mean, who'd have thought that Rita would still be going all this time later? I'm going to have to say, she's probably not going to be in it for the 80th anniversary, old Rita.
Listen, this is, I think this is slightly triggering because these are real people.
Oh, I know.
So
we've got to be realistic about this.
We're being realistic. We're not trying to be rude, but there's definitely a human lifespan to consider.
There is. I mean, I suppose people like Maria there, and a few of the others, they hadn't been in the show that long. As I said, Kirk had only been in one episode by the time that the 60th,
it really is
40th, came
the
around.
newer characters that you might think wouldn't be there, especially ones that aren't tied to a big Corrie family. So David, you would probably guess, would be around because he's a Platt.
Yeah, and even back then, the Platt legacy had been going for 10, 20 years or so,
had been
maybe.
in it for a while. But then you've got people like Dev and Kirk and Maria.
Much more recent.
Even Toya, really. I mean, a transplanted family to the street, sometimes they take root and bear fruit, and other times they wither away and die.
Yeah, I mean, by the time we got to the 60th, the Baileys had been in the show for a year and a half, and I'm guessing I can't remember exactly when Dev came in the show, but he couldn't have been that much more recent than or older or whatever. He must have been around about the same amount. So I think he would have been one at the time where we thought maybe, I don't know, maybe we might have said, well, Coronation Street would be good to keep hold of certain characters from minority backgrounds, particularly as that was a push that Corrie was going for at a time, and I suppose it's something to consider. But I mean, yeah, I would have probably at the time said...
This is obviously barring any big life change
exactly
for the actors.
Exactly. I would have definitely said, you know, Sally and Kevin likely to stay the course. Steve seemed pretty well settled into it by then. Even Tyrone, though, he'd only been in the show for, 2 years at the time. So it's hard to tell. Sometimes you just don't know, do you? I mean, I wonder who else was in the show back then that we might have said... Definitely well, of course, they'll be around for the 60th. No, I probably would have said somebody like Martin. If yeah, maybe Curly. I mean, some of these characters had been in the show for 20 years then. Deirdre, of course, and that's a really sad one because obviously she still would have been in the show if Anne Kirkbride hadn't.
Don't know what Anne's long-term goals were, but she had been a stalwart of Coronation Street for a long time, so you would imagine that she would have continued in the role.
It doesn't look like she was going anywhere.
Barring any kind of crazy producer that wanted to kill people off.
Yeah. I wonder back then whether we would have loved Hayley quite so much that we would have kept her in, because she'd been in the show for 2 years, and I mean, it's such a shame that she had to leave. But I think... I don't know how soon that she felt like this is something special and this is something precious that Coronation Street needs to keep hold of. I don't know if there are any other maybe like Maxine and Ashley we might have said could have stayed on. I don't know really. But in any case, like I said earlier, that was about a third of the cast we've kept and another 2/3 we've axed. And that was actually quite similar between the 20th and the 40th anniversary as well. So back in when they had the 20th anniversary in 1980, there were about 30 characters on the regular cast, and 10 of them stayed up until the 40th. So that's, again, a third of the characters have stayed. Although if you compare the very beginning of the show to the 20th, in those first 20 years, they only kept 7 or 8 actors, I think. But if we transplant those proportions... Because, how else are we going to decide? To nowadays, that means that we've got to keep about 25 current characters to still be in the show in 20 years' time.
Yeah, that's assuming...
Not going to make a definitive list.
That's assuming that the cast remains a similar size, I guess. I don't know. 25 is a lot of people. The cast is already really big. That's kind of assuming that it doesn't get streamlined, because there's quite a few people that you could probably... get rid of.
I mean, it does make me wonder, the cast has just been gradually growing and growing and growing. When does it reach, maximum limit? When do people turn around and say, no, this is silly, we can't have 300 people on the regular cast list?
It depends on how it's limited. Is it limited by budget or some other kind of logistical process? At the moment, it's surely one of the major factors is COVID bubbles, because they still have filming bubbles, I think, and cohorts where people aren't really allowed to mix in between them. And that's going to limit the number of people that are going to be in scenes.
I would hope that in 20 years' time we won't be having that.
No, but that's the current problem. And that was still part of the show in the 60th anniversary. So we're talking about the 80th anniversary. What are the limits? What are they going to just keep increasing? Are the number of episodes going to be the same? Is it going to be
you wonder.
Could be 2 episodes on every day. You could end up with 10 episodes a week. I guess really the one limiting factor is the audience. How much are the audience interested and can follow the antics of 75 people at a time? Are we that? Does the interest start to wane at a certain point? Is there a bell graph?
One would say it has for some viewers.
At this point, you've oversaturated, and you need to get rid of some people. That people can only care. So they say something about your friend group is limited to a certain number of sort of acquaintances, and then friends, and then best friends, and there's only a certain number of relationships that any human being can maintain at any one time. Surely there's some kind of formula that we can use for Coronation Street characters. I don't think anyone's worked it out yet, but surely, honestly, I think that the cast is at maximum.
I can't see it getting any bigger.
I can see it getting bigger, but I can't see it bringing better returns. I think it would.
Yes.
It would. it would get bigger, and then they'd realise they'd made a terrible mistake.
For all we can't axe people. But anyway, this is by the by. So we're saying roughly 25 characters, and we're not going to make a list or anything, but because I don't think that's what John really wanted to know. But just, stat fans, I thought might have found that quite interesting.
I always like it when people ask you questions that you can really get your research teeth into.
We're stringing an episode out.
We're not stringing it out. I think this is really fascinating.
I think it was interesting. So if we're looking at current characters, then, like we said before, there are obviously some who sadly have got no chance of being in the 80th. So I don't think we're going to have Rita being, front page of the soap magazine.
You're talking physically.
Yes. Evelyn, Yasmin, Audrey, Roy, very unlikely.
Well, we would hope that these people would live long lives and enjoy a happy retirement on Auntie Pam's farm.
Yeah. I mean, Ken... how
Ken
old...
says he wants to live to 108, right?
William Roach is going to live to 107, he said. So,
I thought it was 108.
I thought it was 107.
108 is a very significant number in Buddhism. That's what I'm going to say.
The numbers in Lost, isn't it?
Well, he's not a Buddhist.
So, I mean, if all goes to plan, then you know what? Maybe Ken will still be in it. But let's say no. I mean, I kind of wonder what's the maximum age that a character has got to be now, so that they would still... be in it and be a chance to be a major player. Because
who's the oldest person in it now? Is it William Roach?
No, I think it's Barbara Knox at the moment.
So how old is Barbara Knox?
She's like a million.
45.
21. No, she's like 85 or something around about like that.
I wonder when it becomes a health and safety issue. So like 85 seems like a good time to sort of say, let's not expect people to go beyond this. Not that we're stopping people, but just say we don't expect you to go beyond. Are
you saying that if whoever is 85 in 20 years?
I'm just saying, if I was in charge of Corrie and I was looking at my budgets and my ages, I'd be saying I'm kind of expecting you to be leaving. At the young age of 85.
Right, okay. So maybe in the 80th anniversary...
I can only assume something's gone wrong with Barbara Knox's national insurance number or something and she can't get her pension kicked in.
Let's just say then that in the 80th anniversary we may see the exit storyline for Johnny Connor because Richard Hawley is going to be 85 when Coronation Street's 80th anniversary is on. Uh-huh. So I think actually probably not so likely that we might have Johnny.
I just want to say something. If you're a Coronation Street actor and you're listening to this might be triggering for you because we're going to tell you how old you will be for the...
This is like one of those death clocks,
80th anniversary.
Yeah, and I have looked... These are the actors' ages I've got here.
Not the character ages.
Gail's going to be 89. I mean, didn't... Betty went into her 90s, didn't she?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure she did. So, I mean, Gail could still be rocking that massive hairdo come 20 years. I don't know.
As long as they got a nice comfy chat. And let's also bear in mind that there are other things, like technologies,
very true. We're going to have Android Gail.
Are the NHS going to be able to sort of preserve the lives of Coronation Street actors well into their 150s just for... the kicks?
We can have Rita's head in a jar.
Of course.
Futurama.
Well, the thing is...
Well, nothing's off the table, is it?
As soon as they work out what that pesky gene is that's making everybody get old and die and turn it off for a select elite, surely that would include Coronation Street actors.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we would never need to retire any of these people.
There are some characters that are in it now. We're being so negative. We're saying this is not going to be in it.
I'm not being negative.
There's some characters. There's like a glut of characters that are in it now that are going to be in like their mid-70s by the time that the 80th anniversary rocks up.
I just want to read this out for people because this is kind of interesting.
Go on.
And again, if you're a Coronation Street actor, you might not want to hear this, but in the 80th... You're
going to have Jude Riordan listening to this at the moment, going, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in my 30s.
Jude, listen to me, Jude. If you're listening, get your pension sorted out now, mate, because I've started to look into it and it's frightful. Kevin's going to be 76.
Mike Lavelle is going to be 76.
Okay, listen, I'm going to read out the character names.
Fine.
Jenny, 70. Kathy, 79. Dev, 76. Peter, 73. Tim, 70, Sally, 77, Aggie, 78, Brian 78 and Eileen 77. So those are like really solid characters, aren't they? All of those people I can really see being in it, but I can't see them carrying big stories because it's not, well, Jenny's on the young end there. Jenny's the youngest one, so she's 70. And so is Tim. I can see them carrying.
Yeah, I think
big
so.
Stories.
I mean, yeah, we got Yasmin. I mean, she was the face of Coronation Street in the 60th. Don't forget, and she's she's I can't remember. She's late 60s, early 70s. I can't remember now. Whether she had the time off. But there's a couple of people. I don't think she's quite 70, so maybe.
So you know, in the mid 40s, who are coming up. For example, Nick is actually, so Ben Price is 70. It would be 68, and so would who plays Carla?
Alison King.
Alison King. So that's just a couple of years younger than this group.
Yeah. I mean, out of those ones that are going to be the septuagenarians, looking at who's likely, I honestly, I can't see Kathy staying the course. I don't imagine that she's still going to be in it. I think that Melanie Hill may want to move on to pastures.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to say that I think the vast majority of these people don't feel to me like they want to go anywhere.
I think some people don't want to go somewhere, but I don't know. With the Kathy and your Bryans, with your Aggies, I'm thinking maybe there's going to be a producer that comes along that wants them to go somewhere in the next 20 years.
And also people like Kevin and Sally and maybe Jenny, big names in Coronation Street. Could a producer make their name by axing them?
No, I think
so.
I know that
we haven't had an axe man for a long time.
I'm not saying we don't need an axing, but I think that it would be.
I think people are being a bit cowardly.
I think it's like you're not going to.
I don't want to see any of them axe, but what I'm saying is, I think it was very shocking and unfair what happened, but at the same time, Coronation Street isn't like a charity for actors that want to be employed forever. It's a TV show, and having a steady gig as an actor is a rare and precious thing. All these actors know that, I think, and it would be a shame if they got axed, but also equally it seems kind of silly to expect that they just have a job as long as they want it, all of them.
I think that Sally Diniver has got a job on Corrie as long as she wants it.
I think most of these people do.
I think Mike Lavelle has as well. I think Chris Gascoigne...
Sally Ann Matthews does, because she's a great actress. I think all of these people do.
She's not going to get axed. I think Dev, he's the sort of character I could see maybe in a future producer going... Nah, he rubs me up the wrong way. As great as I think he is at the moment.
He's proved himself really so much over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, Peter, we don't even know if he's going to live long enough to get.
I know he might not even be at the end of this year, let alone 20 years' time.
See, Tim to me feels like a character that could be a sacrificial lamb, because he is popular with people. They do like him. He's an everyman. He's kind of a fun guy. But so to kill him off would be quite shocking and provocative.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no to losing him.
It would cause a big stir, but it wouldn't lose sort of something irreplaceable that it would do if you killed off somebody like Jenny or Sally.
So I've got another list here then of some characters that are in the either late 30s, early 40s at the moment, who could still potentially be a main player in 20 years. Because I think all those other characters are going to be more, if they're still in it, they're not necessarily going to be carrying the stories, but we've got quite a few here who possibly could.
So I don't think we said this, have we? But in the UK, the pension age is like 65 or 66 or something. So like in general, if you're from this country, you would be looking at getting your pension around 60. I think they keep adding years all the time. So 68 maybe is the max. I don't even know. So all of the people that we just mentioned would be well within their rights to move on and enjoy a much earned rest.
I don't want to mention all the names that I've got on my list here, but are there any there that you think, I absolutely think they're still going to be in Corrie in 20 years' time, and actually I think they could have grown into... they could cope with the big 80th anniversary story. I mean, David, for example, for me, I think that he has got a job for as long as he wants it, and Jack P. Shepherd has said that as long as he's still getting good storylines, I think he's happy to stay in it. So he would be, what's he now? He's early 30s, isn't he? So he would be.
He's been in his 50s.
He'd be in his 50s, so I think that is definitely a good age for getting a decent story out of David. I'd love to see David's whole life.
Let's start planning now to make sure that the 80th anniversary revolves completely around David Platt.
I think that somebody like, I mean, the Battersbys, Leanne and Toyah, could very well still be keeping it up in a couple of decades' time.
There could be a big amalgamation clan of, like, you know, Toyah, Leanne, Sam, Nick, Simon, whoever they marry.
Yeah.
Because those two lads are gonna grow up and, you know, marry a boy or a girl. The clan's going to grow, and they Toyah and Leanne could be the matriarch of an enormous family. You know, Toyah being the crazy aunt,
of course,
great aunt who leaves everyone lots of money in the will, and Leanne,
sweet counselling money.
Leanne being the cratchy old grandma.
I mean, I think that David absolutely could be a main player. I think Tracy potentially still could. A little bit older, but I don't see Tracy leaving. Same with I don't know. Nick and Carly you talked about earlier. I think they feel like they got their roots in. I don't think they're necessarily going to leave. We got some characters that I would say honestly possibly not to. Like,
can I say, if I was the producer, I would kill off Carla.
Would you?
In a really tragic way, yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
I know it's really sad. I was listening to the YouTube upload that we did, and I think I mentioned.
Oh yeah, I heard you saying that.
Yeah.
You were saying that I love Carla. You were talking about Becky or something,
yeah,
weren't
so
you? I love
Carla,
Becky even more than Carla.
Yeah, and I just think now I would definitely sacrifice her for the ratings.
But the thing we've got to remember with some of these is, because it's all peaks and troughs, any of these characters that we might be a bit down at the moment could just, it only takes one story to get it right back up there. I mean, that's happened with Leanne. I don't think we're going to see Billy still in the show in 20 years. I was literally about to
say Billy. I think Tyrone is looking shaky. Sean, Kirk, Izzy, even maybe Adam. I'm not sure. Fizz. I don't think these people are going to be here.
And if they are, I still can't necessarily see being the main characters. Tell you what, who I would absolutely love and adore, and if I could just chain this person to the street now for the next 20 years, I would. Abby. Yeah. Don't go anywhere, Abby.
We love you, Abby. You are ours forever.
I think that she's such a fantastic actress. I think that having a mature Sally Carman front Coronation Street's 80th anniversary should have earned her stripes. If not that she hasn't already by then, but that could be fantastic.
Like, she would be
Abby
fabulous.
And David as the front
plot.
runners. That would be absolutely brilliant to me. Are we going to see Gemma? Will she have grown up by then? I can only say maybe no. I'm kind of saying hope not at the moment, but again, she could be. At least the quads will be over 20 now, so maybe they'll have moved out at least.
Oh God, yeah, the quads.
Only takes 20 years for Gemma to be freed.
That could be a really big quad story.
Oh gosh, quad save me.
What would have to happen between now and then to make that seem like a viable option? And are we going to be here? I mean, I don't know. How old are we going to be? Quite old. We're going to be 68.
No, we're going to be 58.
Yes, 58.
You can be 68 if you like.
I'll say I'm 68 and people can say, you look so young.
You got told you were young today, didn't you? Yeah.
The guy who couldn't believe we lived here for 15 years. And I said, well, I'm 38. And he went, what? And I said, it's just the mask, I think. So, yeah, I think that the quads could be... That could be a right coming of age story.
Surely
you don't know what... You don't... Really?
I think, honestly... maybe that's just wishful thinking.
I think the only way to get rid of them is to kill them all at once in a really tragic accident.
Yeah.
Or to have Gemma leave with them, which would be... honestly, I would never have said this previously, but that would be my preference.
I think so. Maybe
and it's such a shame because I don't understand. It really feels like the stupid... Like, it feels like we'll do it and work out the details later kind of an idea to giving her... And we've said time and time again, we're not the first person, we won't be the last to say that was a massive mistake.
Yeah. What do you reckon about Steve? Do you reckon Steve could still... Again, I don't particularly see him leaving now unless Simon wants to. Maybe Simon Gregson will be 66 when it comes around to the 80th. Possibly still, of the right sort of age for running it. But I mean, we've got lots of other characters who are in their early 30s or 20 somethings now that are going to be the ripe for the
ripe.
Still kind of young age, and I'm just saying that because in 20 years' time they'll be the same age as probably we are at the moment. So I'm looking. This is where it gets harder, and we go back to what we said earlier when we were saying, if you were to have asked us 20 years ago, is Tyrone still going to be in it? Is Maria still going to be in it? And we were like, oh, shrug, I don't know. So, but I'm just looking at this list here of characters like Emma, Ryan, Daniel, Alina, Nina. Are any of these going to be around in 20 years? It's really, really tough. I think out of the whole of this list here, Daniel's the one that's most likely to stay should Rob want to keep the role, because he's a Barlow, and they're not going to be going out axing Barlows willy-nilly. And I think that Rob Mallard is a fantastic actor. He's only going to grow and mature and improve with age. So I wouldn't say no to having him as a front runner for the 80th anniversary. But a lot of these other names here, like Grace, Faye.
I really don't want Chesney to be in it.
No.
Some of these people, I don't want to.
The thing is, remember, the question was who are going to be the main players, not just necessarily who's going to be in it. I don't necessarily see Chesney leaving, but I still wouldn't say that even in 20 years they're going to give him the main. What about somebody like Imran? Obviously, would love him to stay.
Yeah, I want most. Of
maybe he'll get a storyline in the next 20 years if we're lucky. I'm not even asking for him to still be here in the 80th. I just want him to have a storyline at some point before the 80th, please.
So are you ready to tie this up? Because
Yeah, certainly. I mean, what we haven't talked about at all yet, though, is the kids now. Who are being personality-less empty vessels, most of them.
Well, some of them can get recast.
Some of them have already been recast. I would love for Tanisha and Adam to stay playing Asher and Ardy, and they're going to be our age, literally, in 20 years' time, and I feel that could be perfect for them, and if their recent success is anything to go by, they could really be ones to watch, I think.
Well, they also have this really interesting bond about being twins that might become, they would be very close because they would have had similar experiences through their life, which sometimes siblings don't have, depending on the age gap.
I mean, some other one. I mean, there's quite a lot of characters here that are children of other main players. So if we're saying, well, Kevin's still going to be in it, then maybe that means Jack's going to be in it. I've got nothing against Jack, but I don't absolutely adore Jack as well. It just depends where things go for him as a teenager.
See, that some of these, also, I'm thinking, go away with a parent, and then the parent doesn't return, but the child does in their early 20s as the sexy new person on the street. Any of these people could be recast and come back as a... I
think Coronation Street would do well to keep hold of Sam, because he's going down very well. I'd be really interested to know what he's going to be like. I want to see him as an adult, because he's already kind of a little adult, isn't he?
Yeah,
in
I know.
A child's body.
This is the trouble, because the cute young actors don't always turn into...
Well, exactly. I'm sure we can all think of at least two cute young actors who haven't turned into, Corrie's
compelling
finest.
Characters. Right, so to tie it up, I'm just going to run down some ideas for people that I think in the 20 years' time will be main characters, okay? So I'm going to say, I think, Abby and...
oh my gosh, that would be my dream for Abby to still be in it in 20
David,
years. I love her so much.
Tracy, Jenny, Eileen...
I want to see Jenny as a grumpy old woman so much.
I'm going to put a wild card in here. I'm going to say Lily, Ardy, Asher, Michael.
I wonder how many of the Baileys are going to be. I think they'll all be gone, honestly. I don't see any of the Baileys staying.
Daniel and Nina. That's what I reckon are going to be
that is not a bad list. We haven't really talked about Nina yet, have we?
Nina or Alina?
Nina.
No.
I'm going to get rid of Alina. I don't need her to be there in 20 years.
No, I don't.
But yeah, Nina would be a good one to stay. I think that was a decent list. And I mean, I'd also add like Kevin and Sally there. I think they could still... This is all, touch wood, assuming that everybody has a happy and healthy life in the next 20 years, they still can be in it. I think they should be there. I don't think there's many that I would add to that. I mean, we said we wanted about 25 and that wasn't 25, but...
No, those are the main players, I'm expecting some other people to be in it.
On.
So, like, I would really, really want... Toya and Imran and Max and...
I think I quite like Todd to stay.
Yeah, Todd.
He's really done a good job as Gareth. I would love those people to
stay, but it's one of those things where I think I want it too much. And the world wants to punish me, so I don't want to wish for it out loud, because then it might, they might try to screw me over by not making it true.
Okay, yeah, that's a good list. So, John, I hope that's answers your question there. And if anyone else wants to listen in and tell us who they think are going to still be, the headline grabbers of 20 years to come, do write in and let us know.
Big
of course,
hope for Lily.
There is going to be a massive onslaught of other new characters that. Yeah, and
some of these characters too will have children that will be of age.
Yeah.
So Ardy, Asher, Michael, I've forgotten. Glory. Sorry, she could be in the show.
It's funny. It's so funny to think
Storm
about it.
in
so
20 years' time. She will be. Glory will be 20 years old for the 80th anniversary.
Yeah.
And maybe Dee Dee might finally turn up by then.
Maybe.
Give her a Christmas card with 20 years worth of Miss Birthday money in it.
It's so funny looking at all these kids and thinking that there's so few of them have got anything resembling a personality, like, Liam, Joseph, Max. Even Ruby at the moment is not quite got the sass that she once had, has she? It just makes you think, makes you wonder, in 20 years' time, we will have opinions on these characters. We'll either love them or hate them, or they'll have gone. But
they will have only gone, really, if their parents leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of these parents, I don't see leaving, I don't think, unless they get killed off or something.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting question. I like that question.
It was. I mean, the next question, to be honest, is along the same lines, isn't it?
This is a complimentary question.
Yeah, go on. Well, this is from Bronte. So, Gemma, do you want to read this one out?
Are there any characters you thought would be gone from the show but haven't? Now, this has got potential to be a really mean answers here, because... characters that should be gone really feel like people that have outstayed their welcome or aren't being given anything good to do. And I think it's important to mention at the top of this that the actors don't write the scripts.
I mean...
And they don't pick their own storylines, and they don't really often have much input into what the personality of the characters are. And some of the actors play people that are very similar to them in real life, and some of them play people that are completely different. So... I don't want this to be a reflection on anybody's acting ability or, we don't like the actors or anything, because it really is a bit circumstantial about how much they get given to do.
Yeah, and of course there are lots of reasons why a character might have been expected to leave, or an actor might have been expected to leave. It's not just their rubbish, what are they still doing here? It's also like, well, maybe we thought the actor would have wanted to have moved on and tried different things at this point, or, maybe we thought that a character was only going to be in a temporary story, but actually they've hung around.
And also, we thought the story would have ended by now, with the only inevitable ending being the character having to leave. An example of that is Gary, because Gary is a villain who killed somebody, in my opinion, and has not answered for that crime. And by the law of soaps, he should have gone a long time ago. But he's still
had a nice little stay in a bit of pool in prison, didn't he? But I don't think he's really suffered or learned a lesson. Not that was, he wasn't put in for that. But if Ian McLeod or someone was to turn around and say, well, he didn't get caught about that, but he's been in prison, so we're just going to overlook the fact that
feels
he
wrong.
Dropped a factory on Rana's head. I think that COVID has had a bit to answer for here, and maybe Rick's body would have been found, possibly. I don't know if that hadn't happened, if they'd been able to do that. So I was expecting Gary to have gone by now, absolutely. As soon as we found out that he was behind the factory, as soon as he bashed Rick's skull in, I thought he's got he's got a limited time on the show now.
He's just got away with everything.
And, 2 years later, he's still swaggering around the streets like he owns the place.
Another example of a character who felt like the story was sort of limited time only was Elaine.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was going to say.
I'm surprised that she's still here because I really like her.
When she came in last summer, I was like, she's going to come in, say the bit in court that saves Yasmin, and then bog off, which has happened so many times before, isn't it? Like, in the John Lindsay storyline, talking back a long time again now, like when his ex-wives have come in and said, he did the same to me, or I think I'm remembering rightly, and that's what happened. But so Elaine fit into the same mould, somebody who just helpfully comes in as a bit of a deus ex machina.
And also a very charismatic, big presence that sometimes can't sustain itself. And she is floundering at the moment, so I'm not sure what she's there for.
No.
But I will say it does help to be Tim's mum.
That's very, very true. I sometimes forget that, to be honest.
I
would have thought that Elaine would have been absolutely gone at Christmas.
Somebody that is not very popular is Sean. Lots of people don't really like him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to keep Sean as long as you want, but
I don't mind keeping him. He is a very old school, campy, gay man, which is kind of fun because I don't think the other gay characters are really very camp.
Well, no, he's a walking stereotype, isn't he?
He is very stereotypical, and I think that
stereotype.
Honestly, I can understand if people want to argue that he is a harmful stereotype, but I think that's. Obviously, are there gay men who are like this?
People like him exist,
and
definitely.
He is fun, and he's flamboyant and exaggerated. And if you can have characters like Dev who are straight and flamboyant, why can't you have a gay man who's flamboyant and wears peacock shirts?
I think with Sean, as well as the fact that he's fairly unpopular with a relatively large proportion of the audience, it's also the fact that he's not really had much to do.
He's selling mascara
in the last 15 years. So I think some people are thinking, why is he still here if clearly of Coronation Street have got no idea what to do with him?
The first gay man on Coronation Street, like openly gay.
He was the first kind of main gay regular character,
Yeah. So I think from that perspective, he deserves his spot.
Along the same lines of characters who don't seem to be doing much or haven't had stories written for them, so why are they still here? I mean, you could say that about Izzy, about Kirk. I mean, both of those two I kind of wish were gone, especially more than Sean.
Unfortunately, I mean, we don't rate Izzy very highly as far as storylines go.
Lovely to see her back on the show last week.
I was surprised at how much I really enjoyed seeing her back, so there's obviously something about her that I deep down do like. But again, she's another one who represents a group of people that are underrepresented on television. So as much as you don't want to sort of group people together who are very different, if you were to get rid of Izzy, you really need to then look to somebody else to give you the representation that she provided. And because I do think it's important to have a character like Izzy on the show. But, I don't think that she's not a very likeable person. No,
she's not.
I also don't like Alia.
With Izzy, if you go back and look at our end of year prediction shows for the following year, we had a good 2 or 3 years in a row, I think, where we said, I predict that Izzy's going to be gone by this Christmas, but she's still, she's still hanging on in there after all this time. I think Alia as well, we've kind of predicted that she would stay, and maybe that was just wishful thinking. She would go, sorry. Yeah, maybe that was just wishful thinking. But it feels like I don't know. If I was gonna peg any of the Nazirs to stay, I don't think it would necessarily have been her. I think there was a time when I would have thought that Zidane would have had more of a shot of hanging in there.
Honestly, if I could bring Zidane back and get rid of Alia, I think I would.
Oh yeah, I think so.
For example, another one is the Baileys. Like, I think a lot of people are actually surprised the Baileys are still here.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not. I think that they would be... The thing is about the Baileys is that they were introduced because they need to have a black family and they needed representation.
They felt that was the need.
They did need a black family because they didn't have one.
Okay.
What did I say that was wrong?
Nothing.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there's anything negative about the Baileys, they were long overdue to be introduced as a black family on Coronation Street. But I think that because they were introduced as like the first black family, and it was like, you know, what was it, 2019?
Yeah.
They can't get rid of them. They got to give them a proper good shot. 5 years or more, they're not going to get rid of the Baileys, because that would be to me, if I was writing a horrible headline to criticise Coronation Street, I would be like, they failed completely to make a compelling story that would give a black family enough storylines to hang around for, you know.
The other thing to consider is especially Ian McLeod is the you know, sitting there at the top when he's on his throne at Coronation Street. I can't see him readily giving up this family that he was responsible for bringing in. I can certainly see, you know, when his predecessor eventually comes in, his successor coming in, they might want to swing the axe a little bit, get rid of one or two. But yeah, honestly, Ian McLeod is, I don't think, is losing those.
I think it would be a big mistake to not. I think the Baileys should and will remain a presence on the street for many years, if not decades, to come, because they've got not just the core family, but now they've introduced Ronnie. We still haven't met Dee Dee, and now we've got Glory as well.
Yeah.
And Grace has come in. I think that they've sown a few more seeds, and I really, really think that the high importance of having a black family on the show means that they are going to invest time and effort into making sure that they have stories to come. And I'm honestly really surprised that they're still floundering here, because you write for them the same way that you would write for anybody else.
I think you're right. You're absolutely right in that the Baileys, it is no surprise that the family unit is still here, because it's only been 2 years. But maybe the surprise is that we haven't lost one of them. Maybe like James by this point could have been transferred to a football club somewhere else.
Football.
The other thing with the Baileys is that, yes, they do want to keep this black family, but there is still the option of kind of gradually easing them out and replacing them with another. Now, I'm thinking back... I'm thinking back to when they first brought in the Desai family in the late 90s. So we had, in the corner shop, we had Ravi Desai, the dad, and then we had the two kids.
Were they Hindu?
Yes, I'm going to say yes, I think so. Yeah, there must be. Because then we had the two kids, Nita and Vikram. Oh. Vikram stayed on the show for a little bit longer, but the Desais as a unit didn't really work particularly well, as far as I remember. So that's when we brought in Dev as a cousin, and then he kind of took over, and then he got Sunita, and then obviously the twins came a bit later. So the Desais didn't work, but we had the family that came in and gradually, not gradually at all, pretty quickly, most of the Desais are gone. So there's still the possibility that a branch of the Bailey family tree come in if we feel that these characters aren't working, and you know, gradually replaced, swap them over, and hope we don't notice.
You say, Dev was a cousin, but you know, you've already got Ronnie, who's the uncle.
Well, Ronnie could be the beginning of the... That's
what I mean. So the Bailey, he's the Bailey, though.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. He is. I'm thinking... back to moving on from the Baileys then. So other characters that we're pleasantly surprised have stayed. I would say... I think Carla. I think I'm still happy that Carla's still in it, even if I'm not really happy with the way her character's going. But I think there was a time that I thought that she could have left, and actually I think Ali Sinclair is a really class actress, and she could have decided, I'm going to try my hand at different things, because if you compare, and I would put her in the same category as the likes of, you know, Saran Jones and your Sarah Lancashire's and that, the real, you know, big, very, very capable actresses, she could have decided, no, I want to do something else. But maybe, I guess she kind of did, and she went off, and then she didn't do anything, did she?
She did the introduction to the Coronation Street inflatable.
She did. Debbie's another one who I'm surprised is still here. I thought that after the 60th, I didn't know whether I thought she was going to get killed off or something, but it felt that she was only brought in for that, and she could have gone on, but it looks like for the moment they're perfectly willing to keep her on board.
Pleasantly surprised is the correct term here. I feel the same way about Abby, because when we first saw Abby, she was an absolute drug addict, and we thought she was fantastic, and we thought she had a bit about her.
Right from the start, we knew.
And they sort of rewrote the character, really, I think, of Abby based off the performance.
Yeah, because she was in and out for the first 6 months or so, wasn't she?
She was just fantastic from the very beginning.
It wasn't obvious straight away that this is the makings of a brilliant new character. Yeah. It was kind of just a story for Seb, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Look at this horrible home life that Seb's got, and they could have just made her disappear off and go to prison or drug-addled death or whatever. But so you're right, that's a very pleasant surprise. Who else have we got? There's some characters, there's some other ones I suppose along the same lines as Abby that at first seemed like they could have been temporary, but now I can't imagine Corrie without them. Somebody like Evelyn, for example, she could have been just
I thought
a mini role for a big actress who was not going to stay, because this is Maureen Lipman. She doesn't need Corrie,
I was listening to our comeback discussion, and one thing we mentioned was that what's her name?
Who? Maureen Lipman.
Maureen Lipman was brought in to stop the gap between what was going to happen next and Bet leaving all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And you were saying like, oh my god, I love her. I would really like. She played a pub landlord.
Spencer.
Yeah, for like a very brief amount of time. You're like, oh gosh, I would really love to see Maureen Lipman back in the show. And it took her a while, but she came back as Evelyn, and for a while it really felt to me like it was guest starring, Coronation Street guest starring Maureen Lipman. You might know her as being a famous lady on a BT advert or whatever it was. She's a big kind of name in she's one of these people who in this country is like famous, and you say, what is she famous for? And most people don't actually know what she's done. Don't you think? Yeah, like just being a sort of a really cool thesp lady, like a lovey. And so she's been in Coronation Street, and the fact that she's still here, to me, feels like a gift every day.
Oh, I know, totally. Hopefully she's back soon.
Same for a different reason is Nina, because Nina is such a unique and strange person that I think that if she could feel like a bit of a caricature person that comes in and out.
Yeah, definitely. The story when she came in was more about, Sylvia's mystery history and Roy rediscovering his family and his brother and everything, and having this niece character being what we've kept from it. It didn't necessarily seem right from the beginning that that's where it was going to go. But I hope that we're going to be able to keep Nina for a very long time. We'll just have to see. I want that there's so much potential and scope for that character.
Another person who I thought might not stay for very long is Jenny, because she came back after a long break. She kidnapped a baby and dangled it a la Michael Jackson, got put inside to get her head straightened up, then came back again, and it feels like you're like, oh, please stay, because I think Sally Matthews could go off and do whatever she wanted. But I really, really like her as Jenny, and I want her to stay as long as possible, especially now that she's the landlady. Because the thing about the Rovers is that it's felt very chop and changey. And for years and years and years, the landlords were few and far between. But when they were there, they were established and very
in the
larger
first,
than life. Jack
35
and Annie,
years of Corrie, we had Jack and Annie and then Bet.
Yeah. So the continuity of the Rovers and the landlord and landlady of the Rovers, I think in recent times it's been a bit of a pet project of different producers to bring in somebody that was their landlord or their landlady. But having Jenny in there really feels like she needs to be in there for a long time to cement that legacy that she deserves.
She's had such a full start, really, but none of her own fault. But the fact that COVID happened has really put a dampener on it, and she's been the caretaker of the Rovers,
sending off glasses of vodka to Rita for free.
But yeah, you're right. Especially sometimes when they have these characters coming back as well, quite often they're temporary as well. Like Regina, for example. You don't often get characters that come back from a long absence and then stay. Dennis is another one, isn't it? Came for a few years and that was it. But Jenny, it looks like, we've got her hopefully as long as we want her.
Now, there are some characters that I really don't think will ever go unless something happens to the actors or, you know, they want to retire. Like, I think if you were a producer or the actor of the following characters, you would be crazy to have them leave. And that, like, Audrey, David, Gail, Ken, Kevin, Rita, Roy, Sally, Sarah, Tracy, all of these characters really feel like they should stay in the show and have stories written for them. Unless they're going to do something spectacular and really, really, you know... The thing is, though, how often does a really popular character get killed off?
It happens. Kylie.
Hayley, I don't think Kylie was that popular, but Hayley is one example.
Tina.
No, Tina was up and coming. I think Tina was popular Tina was very popular with a specific part of the audience.
Alma.
It doesn't happen much, though, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Like, I can't imagine me going...
Bishop. Everybody loved Ernest, but people were writing and complaining about to Granada about that one. Yeah, no. I mean, I suppose if I'm talking about characters you thought would be gone but haven't, I mean, I suppose we could say we're surprised that some of the oldies like Ken and Rita are still hanging on in there after all this time.
Good for them.
This ties into what we were talking about earlier for the first question, but if you were to ask me 20 years ago, these two still going to be, you know, rocking it on the cobbles 20 years, I'd be like, well, probably
They're doing
not.
exactly what I'm doing at my job, which is hanging on in there, refusing to leave, and hoping that if you end up getting bumped off, there's a big paycheck at the end of it.
I've just thought of another one. I've just seen another one because I'm putting them in. Alina, she's another one that I'm surprised is still here. She feels like she's hanging on a little bit, and she's one that doesn't feel like they necessarily need to have her here. If during the slavery storyline you were to say, right, Alina and Jan, which one's still going to be here in a few years, I would have probably said Jan.
Yeah, me too.
He was the better character.
Another one really is Seb. Seb has got a new lease of life very, very recently, thanks to Nina.
Yeah.
And up until that point, his previous biggest story was the love triangle between Alina and Emma, and that really kind of wrecked all three of them for me. I found that very tedious.
Yeah.
And then before then, obviously, was the Pat Phelan and
whispering in his ear in a coma
storyline, and he kind of became a bit of a grey character there.
He was great then. Yeah.
So yeah, but
it
since
just shows
I'm just saying,
there's always scope for turnaround, isn't there?
Yeah, but since Pat Phelan left, Seb has only really just righted the ship, really, as far as you know, kind of justifying his existence on the show. So
yeah.
There you go. It does show that you can change the fortunes of any character if you've got a good enough story.
Yeah, I mean, there's some characters that we had wanted gone in the past, but they've since had a turnaround. Like Leanne is another something.
Oh, absolutely, that line, because
a couple of years ago, it's been like, why is Leanne still here?
Listen back to an old podcast, and you will just hear me complaining about Leanne and how much I hate her.
Yeah.
And now I think Jane Danson, fantastic. I've always rated her. I don't think I had any problems with her as a performer, but she's proven herself so much, and even if she's not always a likeable person, she is still an interesting person to watch.
I think so.
And that's Leanne, not Jane Danson.
I think we're pretty much done with that then, aren't we? I mean, I don't think we've got the definitive list is the same as we did for the first question, but we've gone for a few that for various reasons we're still surprised a little bit that they're still in the show. We do have a couple of our patrons that wrote in with their ideas as well. So Nancy has said that for the first question that Nina, she was thinking, is still going to be a main player in the 80th anniversary.
I would love to see
that
sort of aging goth Nina. Like, she's not going to be very old, is she? But
no.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Oh yeah. She'd love that. Nancy also thinks that Abby's going to be a main player for the 80th. We hope, fingers crossed. I'm surprised they haven't killed off Gary yet. We've said that as well. So this is for the second question. And Lucas as well. Maybe she was thinking that I can't. Why would Lucas get killed off?
Yeah, but
maybe he'd get killed off to see Carla pining after him, and then Pete. That would have caused more drama between her and Peter.
I've just had a brilliant idea.
Maybe Peter even accused of the murder of Lucas. What?
Lucas is an exact liver match.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how about that?
Nice.
That's
just give him a little bit.
No, he's going to die, and they're just going to transplant the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, that'd be better, yeah. Rebecca also, do you want to read out Rebecca's
So I think
answers?
anyone in the 20 to 40 age bracket at the moment, so David, Sarah, Nick, in the Platts, if they're still around.
We didn't say this earlier when we said that about Nick, how old he's going to be, and we said 68. We said 68. That is Ben Price is going to be 68, but the character of Nick will only be 58 42. Or something like that. So yeah.
If they're still around, also Hope might be if she hasn't been sent to prison yet. I do like the idea of Hope being like the spiritual successor of Tracy as like the evil, completely psychopathic in the very clinical sense of being only out for yourself and not really caring about other people.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Rebecca says, I'm surprised I haven't got rid of Maria. Or a few weeks ago, I would have said Ches, but he's proven himself in the Fizz and Tyrone story, so I'll let him off for now.
Yeah, Maria, she's another name that comes up every so often, doesn't she? Like on people's axe lists or surprised she's still here list, because she hasn't had a whole lot to do in the past 10, 15 years, has she? She comes in every now and then as a little story.
She's a beautiful woman to look at, but she's a fairly
She didn't get Medusas flowing.
She's a fairly odd character
sense,
in that I'm really not sure that they really even know what the personality of Maria is.
No.
She's such a cipher and a void for whatever story that she's in. I mean, Maria now, is she the sort of person that you would imagine marrying a man to get him eligibility to live in this country? I don't really think so.
Maybe, because she could probably do anything.
Yeah, she could do anything and nothing all at once, She could, if it turned out that she'd actually been an evil genius mastermind behind all of the deaths that have happened in the last 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised. If it turned out she was the evil internet troll that had been sending Kathy death threats, I wouldn't be surprised. If it turned out that she'd secretly been funding Weatherfield General from her wages this entire time, don't know if I'd be surprised about that either. Literally capable of anything and nothing all at once.
I found out that when Michael did his DNA test and it found out that Maria was actually his mum.
Or his dad.
Yeah.
Or both at once.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Wouldn't be surprised. Maria can do anything. So Rebecca says, I'm struggling to think of anyone who should be got rid of at the moment, although Gary should be caught. If it wasn't for COVID, he probably would have been.
Like I said, yeah. Definitely, thank you two for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this bonus listener questions episode. And don't forget that you can send in your listener questions.
Yes, please do.
We don't do them very frequently, but when we do, we get right stuck in. And you can ask us anything about Coronation Street. And if there's anything...
About the past, about the present, about the future, about the hypothetical, about characters, about stories, about places, anything you like. About the podcast.
Nothing that's like, you could look it up on Corriepedia, like, when did Peter come back? Like, you can answer that yourself. But things like this is kind of fun. And if you want to ask us something about the podcast, we could do like a little quick fire round.
One of our listener questions that we did a couple of years ago was how do you make a podcast? What goes into it every week? That was a fun one to do. And I think people enjoyed listening to that one.
Yeah, ask us
whatever you like, as long as we haven't answered it before.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, the question that we had at the beginning, which was the who are the major players for the 80th, I think we did do something similar to this once, which was like who are the big stars of tomorrow going to be. So it's along the same lines,
fine.
But we had this as a 20-year down the line this time, so it's ever so slightly different.
Ask us who's going to be in the 100th.
Oh yeah.
No, don't ask us.
That's it.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, everybody. Write us in conversation@gmail.com, whatever. You know how to get hold of us. You should do by now anyway, so I'm not going to say. You find it out for yourself.
Yeah,
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to listen to our main podcast of the week. And that is it. Goodbye for now.
Bye.